Alright, so this is one of the videos that goes along with the evidence of abuse. The good thing about this video is that it shows another one of the tactics that they keep using. The mandatory reporters keep pawning me off on people who are not mandatory reporters. And I have to try to work with them, which is one of the issues with Russell, is that he's not trained as a mandatory reporter. He shouldn't be the one doing this job. I'm going through him because he's a fucking witness. Like, seriously, he's not just a witness to the situations that I've showed him the videos of. He's aware that the things they claimed were delusions are absolutely not delusions. He's also aware of a lot of the, well, important stuff that you learn through incarceration. We're going to learn all this here. The conversation here is right after I spoke with him and Melissa. So after I'm done posting this one, I'm going to post the conversation with him and Melissa. You'll get to notice, if you watch the mandatory reporter video I posted up, you'll notice that, yeah, they just simply don't care. Russell doesn't know any better. So a mandatory reporter does have to be there and does have to be present. And in this video, he verifies that I told the truth through many, many things. The mandatory reporter thing is not a joke. He also talks about Shelley destroying, or talks about the picture that Shelley destroyed and what was on it. So that's another important thing to note. These guys want to break the law, but they don't want to be recorded. If you do record, then all of a sudden nobody wants to anything. It's also my right to record, especially because they do have mandatory reporters there, and if they don't do their job, it results in more abuse. The other thing is, you do have to report abuse that's in the past as well, especially if that person has been trying to turn it in since the very beginning and they're being run around in circles, and that person has repeatedly harmed them again and again, because there is no safe way for the victim to turn it in. If Adult Protective Services is not going to actually investigate the crimes, or is going to just assume that somebody has a badge, must be telling the truth, well, that's exactly the issue that we have here, the quote-unquote honor system. We have been shown time and again why body camera evidence is important, and look at how many times they have destroyed and lost body camera evidence through all of this situation since Natalie Bollinger's death, and even prior to that. Not just in my situation. I mean, they do this nationwide, and we've also gotten to see how many times you get to see police officers blatantly beating and even killing people, and their coworkers will make excuses. Anybody in their right mind watching those videos would not make an excuse for anybody to do that, let alone police officers who should know better. We're going to press play on this. At least Russell is trying, and he makes a lot of good points, and we'll listen. Just let you know I am recording, and I did let them out there know I'm recording. Thank you, sir. Just in case you didn't hear that, I said I'm recording, and he said I already know that. So, one of the things is this stuff's got to be turned in, but the other thing is the evidence of it has to be turned in with it. I didn't bring the evidence. Obviously, I can't carry it all down here with me. I've been posting this stuff on YouTube again. I don't want to have to do that, but I've been posting the evidence that shows that CARE employees and TFCC employees were aware that I was not schizophrenic or delusional and continue to do so. There's also the evidence that Miss Shelley destroyed a bunch of evidence. That's not okay. The situation with the stuff that was, she was supposed to go with me her very first week as the person who's supposed to be my peer support, her very first week,
Let me pause this. So, failure to report is actually a criminal offense. I'm going to post a mandatory reporting video from California. Most of the stuff is the same. The reason I'm posting up the one for California is because I can't find one on Oregon. There are a few things that are different, such as the punishment and or consequences, but the fact is that the video is basically the same across the entire country. It's mandatory reporter laws. These are a set and series of laws that are federally instituted as well. So I'm going to show you some of the screenshots that I have on that. Also, I am going to post a link to the mandatory reporter video. After this is done downloading it, I'll make sure that I post that in the comment sections, as well as posting it in the description. We're going to press play and I guess listen to the rest of this now, and I'll try to just keep my app shut. You know I'm not very good at that. After you've listened to the mandatory reporter training video, once you go back through and you listen to the other videos and recordings, you will understand completely why these are criminal acts. Also, the gentleman who's been looking at this stuff, he's got a pretty full understanding of how big an issue it is just from these quote-unquote small issues.
Now you know the stuff that you got to see? Yeah. Yeah, that's the stuff they're saying is a delusion. Okay. Is it a delusion? I've watched it, no. Not at all. Exactly, and that's what I'm having to deal with still, is that a lot of the people who are involved, and mind you, I'm not accusing you of being involved in any of the crap that happened, but Miss Shelley was. A lot of people who worked here at the time were, and some of them do still work here. As far as the allegations against Miss Shelley and Melissa go, like, when you tell people, especially tell mandatory reporters, that they're not allowed to turn in abuse against us, that is against the law. I don't mind sitting down and even paying to have photocopies made at the library to come in here and show you guys the mandatory reporter laws. The abuse that I continue going through is because instead of mandated reporters that I was sent to, helping to turn it in right away like I was told they were going to, I was sent around in housing circles, and I keep getting this housing stuff. The stuff that you and I were working on, as soon as you stopped, it all stopped. As far as Melissa trying to do the blame game and the you shouldn't have been there crap, basically the equivalent thereof, that's not appropriate. That is what I expect when I try to turn in people who have committed crimes against me. I shouldn't have to turn them into themselves. I shouldn't have to talk to those people at all after making those allegations, especially with the proof that I have. So one of the things is I'd like to come in when you have the availability. I'd like to be able to come in with as much evidence as I can carry. I don't know if they will allow you to come pick me or my evidence up. They probably won't. I'm not even driving my car. My car is parked. Yes, sir. So, right now. So, I don't have anyone to come in with me to make the calls. All right. Well, let's do this. All right. The stuff that they keep claiming are delusions are things that you've seen are true. I keep pulling the delusion thing after knowing that the A&E thing is true. I need you to tell Sean about the A&E thing and about the assault. I will, but I don't have to sit down with him. I will. That's what I was getting to. They should have recognized my life was in danger. And if you haven't seen enough to recognize that my life is in danger, I'll show you more. Do you believe my life is in danger? I've seen enough to understand that there's people out there that have vendettas against you, yes. Alright? So some of the stuff I want to bring in, I do want to show you before we make the call. I want to be able to send it. Alright. All the stuff that I bought to be able to send that stuff to places is in storage. I can't get it out of storage because I don't have a vehicle. Yeah. I I am entirely dependent on others because I don't have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I am very, very often not given any sort of contact information. Like, for example, with Sean, I would have loved to send him the evidence to the situation with Shelley and the situation with Melissa because he could do something about it. They should both be fired and they should both be in prison. Now, I would like for them to take a plea deal and not go to prison, but the fact is, it was inappropriate for Melissa to even call me this morning after the allegations. Now, with the evidence that the allegations are true, obviously that's a situation that should have been taken care of a long time ago. I shouldn't still be having to talk to Melissa. Him having her call me after the stuff that I said to him was inappropriate. Now, I recorded the stuff with him, I recorded the stuff with her, and I recorded the stuff with Shelley.
Okay.
Shelley said that she was going to go over the paperwork that I gave her from TFCC, and she never did. Also, Sean told me that he was going to make sure that I get a copy of my paperwork, whereas Melissa told me that the only people she's allowed to give that to is the police.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure how that works, so
I don't.
yeah, I'm still new at all this. Cause I'm not even a peer no more. I'm the shelter manager now. So, I'm going to set aside an half an hour to 45 minutes with you on Monday. That way I can have a chance to talk to Sean for you, alright? And see what I can do to set up a sit down maybe with him, that you and him to sit down and talk. And me and you.
I'd like to sit down with the both of them and hopefully not have both of them talk over me, which tends to happen when it's more than one person, when it's more than a one-on-one. So it's a tough situation for me because as an autistic person and somebody with PTSD, it's easier for me to talk one-on-one because I'm less likely to get talked over, and at least part of what I'm saying will be understood, I'm hoping. When it's two people, they just easily overwhelm me, and I just basically have to let them have a conversation with themselves at that point.
Make a phone call after I check out the more stuff that you want me to see, alright?
Yes, sir. Well, one of the things is that with my life being in danger, it's been in danger this whole time.
Yeah.
And with having to wait until Monday, that really puts me at even greater risk.
Well, I can't talk to him to see what he wants, how he wants to do it until he's here. And, yeah, so.
Well, when I've tried to turn this stuff in before, I've had many people claim that they turn this stuff in, but none have never provided any proof. And I've got evidence that I've gone to every manner of mandatory reporter. They all need to be turned in because the stuff that you've seen to be true is the stuff they keep trying to pretend I'm delusional over. They keep railroading me in court over this, denying me my.
They also keep pawning me off on peer support workers who are not mandatory reporters. So how's that going to work out? Also, Melissa is the person who's in charge of that part of it, and she gets to decide. She's not a mandatory reporter. She doesn't have mandatory reporter training. But she gets to decide whether or not the actual mandatory reporters are or are not allowed to do their jobs as mandatory reporters. No, it's not an optional job. It's not optional.
Right. I was in there for 15 months on what was misdemeanor, maximum.
We've talked about this already, you know.
And I've also got, I literally brought with me 2 telephones today. So this one right here, it's got threats against my life. It shows that I sent them to the investigator at the SEC. They claimed in court that I threatened to kill them, but I can show you the evidence that I didn't threaten to kill them. I was sending them evidence of threats against me as I was instructed to do.
Yeah.
Instead, what they claimed, and this is all stuff that people have sent to me over and over and over again, because I know the mandatory reporter laws, a lot of people think that I'm a mandatory reporter. I've had underage girls tell me that they wanted help turning in their
Okay, only 2 of them were underage. One of them was a 17-year-old girl. She's actually on my YouTube channel talking about that. Not this one, obviously. And she talks about who her predator is and how he was literally right there at the Seventh-day Adventist Church where he should not have been. You don't get to do those things. And the other one was a victim of David Sinuez. So she was, I want to say, 16 or 17. And she wanted help turning it in. But by quote-unquote help, she wanted me to tell the police by myself without her present, which is always a bad idea, first of all. Second of all, I'm not a mandatory reporter, and I did explain that to her. Her brother came back extremely pissed. Like, you're helping this rapist get away. You're helping him get out to do it to other people. I'm like, I'm not. Your sister has to go in with me, and you're her brother. You should go in with her. If you go, and I explained it to this dude. I'm like, dude, if you go in with her, they have to do something. I understand she's afraid. Lots of people are afraid. I am afraid. Like, seriously. And I have every right to be. Oh, come on now. Screw it. I'll press play on this some more. We can listen to it some more. I'm going to try to get my cigarette holder to work so I don't burn my goddamn fingers. All right, there we go. Let's press play.
And I explained to him, you as the victim have to go in with me. I go in with you to make sure that you're safe when you do so. So that if they try to talk over you, you're not allowed to speak. So this right here, this is a threat against my life. Obviously, it's a threat against my life. He says he's going to kill and rape my sister's kid and stuff like that.
In the last video, you got to see those. It's the very first one with the TFCC investigator. It was on April 15th through 17th that I sent those messages. And they are not threats against her. You can see very clearly that these are threats against me, that it's got my name in it, not hers. You can see very clearly that this person is sending me pictures of myself with threats against my life, and of course, you know, racial slurs and anti-LGBT stuff, and these are hate crimes. And what does the FBI do about these hate crimes? Well, they already got me fucking blackballed. They won't listen to a word I have to say. They've already decided that they're going to cover up their crap. I know that sounds crazy, but the situation with Natalie Bollinger, a lot of people fucked up. And then after the fact, they didn't want to admit that they fucked up. This is where mandatory reporters go from committing a misdemeanor to committing multiple felonies.
Now, this is the stuff that I sent to the investigator. There's a whole bunch of it. Now, I was told to send screenshots of this stuff. People are saying stuff, and I've got it recorded.
Oh, and again, like I said before, this investigator, this adult abuse investigator, looked at the evidence of abuse against me and decided to pretend that these were threats against her life. Her name is Kylie. The threats are against Sean. Obviously, there's an issue there. They continued and proceeded to pretend in court and on my TFCC paperwork to claim that these were, they wanted to continue pretending they were delusions because they'd already committed crimes by that point by not doing their jobs as mandatory reporters going all the way back to 2022. They continued pretending that those threats were delusions while using those same exact threats they were claiming were delusions to pretend that I was threatening them. And of course, they claim this one is over a year later because I spent a lot of time locked up in jail on false charges. And you can see there, 8/29/2025. That's from TFCC. And that's them claiming that they're going to have their adult abuse investigator do something. Oh, what is their adult abuse investigator going to do when I send videos of people assaulting me and more threats of people from people towards me and my family? What's she going to do then? She's going to play victim and pretend that those are what? Threats against her and her life and her family, which is obviously not the case. Like, they left a paper trail, a very, very big paper trail. They didn't even try to hide it, just like Chapel, Nebraska. They didn't try to hide it. Colorado didn't try to hide it either. They had already decided that nobody was going to look at it, and they've been right for the most part.
And to send the recordings. This is the guy that I was sent to jail over, by the way. This is one of the many times that he threatened me, and I believe you can hear him, despite the fact that he's a felon. And then he showed this one to me, cocking his Glock.
That would be Mossam Bijan.
And you know what you see, right? Like, threatening to stab me in the eyeball obviously is scary, and that click is pretty scary too. But the thing is that we have a video of what it did. Yeah, and with the number of times that he threatened me and threw stuff at me.
So the gun that Mossam had stuffed into the right-hand side of his overstuffed chair, it looked like a cheap knockoff Beretta. And he claims that it's just a BB gun, but that's not how he used it. He used it in a very threatening manner. That's first of all. And second of all, I don't know if it was a BB gun or not. Okay, it might have been a real gun, but just a cheap knockoff. I wasn't going to fucking touch it. And Mossam is a felon, so he's not allowed firearms.
I don't know if that's specifically the time that he did that, but yeah, it was scary. And I was staying there, so I have to say nothing about it. The restricted phone calls that I got. Yeah. I sent her a bunch of this stuff. And these are not threats against her. None of them are. That's not a threat against her. None of these are threats against her. These are evidence of restricted phone calls. That's all from the...
He's already stated he's not a mandatory reporter. I shouldn't be having to show him this stuff. He's a witness. Witness is pretty important. He's a witness to these things. And so are my recordings, technically.
Same day, by the way, if you look at the time over here. The majority of those 70 phone calls right there. This is what happens when I give out my phone number to the courts as a safe phone number. They literally gave it right to Andrew Gomez, and he and his friends did that. Now, of course, I'm also supposed to type the stuff that people are sending to me and who's involved, and of course, I do. I type who my main predators are. I type to them that they're threatening to rape my sister up the ass with a fence post. I sent her this stuff. And then, of course, I also typed back all the stuff that I was having to deal with because people were telling me I'm a piece of shit, telling me I need to do my job because they think I'm a mandatory reporter. Like some of these girls, some of their family members came to approach me to threaten me because I'm not doing my job. You know, I'm not a mandatory reporter. I never claimed neither am I. So the thing is, I need an actual mandatory reporter to make these calls with me. And I can make the calls with you. I've seen what you had to show me. I've seen the proof. All right.
Exactly. That's what makes him a witness. But he's not a mandatory reporter. So he's trying to do the job of a mandatory reporter. He is not trained for this. He's also being instructed on what to do by his superiors, and Melissa is one of them. And if you are not a mandatory reporter, you should not have that position, because you cannot tell a mandatory reporter they cannot mandatorily report. All right, that is against the law. That is straight up a felony. That's not a misdemeanor. That is a felony. At that point, you have become an accomplice in the abuse. You cannot do that. And you cannot threaten or intimidate a mandated reporter who works for you with losing their job. They are protected. Meanwhile, here in Tillamook County, obviously, there isn't a single mandated reporter that is not afraid to do their job, that is not afraid of losing their job or having to deal with retaliation. I'm supposed to feel bad for these people. I don't. These cowards are the reason that things are so bad for us. They are too cowardly to advocate, but they want to put advocate on their title. They pawn us off on people who are not mandated reporters, who have no clue what they're supposed to do. And even the mandated reporters say, oh, I need to make some calls. I'll call you back tomorrow. And then, of course, they don't show up. They don't call back. They leave you in limbo. This is not okay.
Well, this is all stuff, when people say this stuff to me, I have to type it out and send it to them, and send more of these. Now, obviously, none of these do, any of these look like they're threats against the person that I'm sending it to. So, the evidence that I want to bring in is the evidence that shows that I'm not schizophrenic or delusional. Which you've shown me. Yes, sir, but it needs to be acknowledged by the.
Okay, so that's another thing. I've been trying to show that stuff to Miss Shelley, but she just never shows up. I carried my evidence down there to the care office literally every day for like a month and a half. And I continued going there for another, I want to say 2.5 months, literally every single day that they were open. And that's been my normal MO. I go down there and I always find an excuse to go down there just in case, because I have to check my mail. If I go 3 days without checking my mail, if I get any mail, they will have to send it back if I haven't checked it in 3 days, if it's government mail. And that just sucks.
Powers that be, so to speak. That's fine. But the thing is that these people never contacted me. They claim that, I was told by the judge that I need to show this stuff to the investigator, but there was no investigator. There's also proof right there that I sent the investigator evidence. This is from somebody who's licensed and qualified.
So the investigator that I was sending this stuff to, they didn't say investigator in court. See, the judge said I'm supposed to send this stuff to the investigator at TFCC. And then I sent that stuff to the investigator. He told this stuff to me and to John Holland of TFCC. So John Holland, the number that I was given for the investigator was Kylie's number. So I sent her the evidence of the threats against me and my family. And then he went into court and he lied in court. And he told them that these were threats against the weekend worker. So is Kylie an investigator or a weekend worker?
To diagnose schizophrenia, and down here at the bottom, she states outright that I'm not schizophrenic. Yeah, you showed me that.
See, and Russell saw that stuff. Shelley, she never saw it. That's also stuff that was not put in my file. These are my psychological evaluations showing that these are not delusions, that the Natalie Bollinger situation is real. And although all of these people have verified that they know the Natalie Bollinger situation is real, they still continue to push the delusional bullshit. Same as Colorado, same as Nebraska. If you refuse to introduce the evidence of the Natalie Bollinger situation, well, then it all just sounds completely crazy. But I do tell people honestly about the Natalie Bollinger situation, and they pretend that Natalie's a delusion, that I'm just some schizophrenic idiot. And my psych evals don't say that. They say quite the opposite. And Shelley was going to go over those with me. She never did. She doesn't show up. And then, of course, we've got the other stuff from TFCC that shows the abuses, but she, again, doesn't show up. And then she wants to say the past, the past, the past. Well, no, you didn't do your job in the past. You committed a crime in the past, and that's why you want to, quote unquote, leave it in the past. No, we're not playing this, especially with everything that I have been robbed of by these criminals. I'm not talking about the homeless. I'm not talking about Wolnez. I'm not talking about Chris Stafford. I'm talking about the mandatory reporters here in Tillamook County, the services here in Tillamook County, the sheriff's department, the police department, the DA's office. And they all been in the news enough. You're at least aware I'm telling the truth about that crap.
Years old. Yeah. Years old. Like, this is older than the other stuff. It's also sent to them, so they were aware of this before they started, again, pretending that I'm delusional because I was trying to turn them in. Now, with me trying to turn in your coworkers, that is something that needs to be taken care of. We can't allow staff members who are bullying us to continue to bully people. And I get that you guys are supposed to be a nonprofit, but if I'm coming in every single week for an appointment where nothing's happening, well, the person who's showing up for that meeting and doing jack shit, pardon my French, is riding the clock and also putting me at further risk because then I have to wait a week longer and a week longer and a week longer. Now, there's also the thing with Melissa this morning about the housing thing. Now, I filled out the housing paperwork. And I'm going to go through my emails and give you the numbers of the places. All right, that's one of the things on my list for you. To call them in with me, that's one of the things about
Yeah, we
the
can do that.
thing and the PTSD thing. And I've been trying to get, that's what we were working on.
That's why I'm scheduling time right now, because I don't do this no more. I'm managing all the shelters now, and I have things I have to do, but I'm setting, I'm authorized to set up a sit down with you, and I think it would be Monday. I was thinking about it, and Monday would probably be the better one, because then I could sit down and talk with Sean, and go from there.
Is there, and also the stuff with the place where we used your information and stuff, because I didn't have any yet. Well, I was able to get an email address and send, so changing that over is important. Shelley is not going to work with me anymore after admitting that she destroyed that picture. That's pretty important. I do want to find out what was up about that picture, why there was a picture posted up of me with mean stuff written on it for months, why it was sitting in the drawer, and why it is that she destroyed it rather than...
I have no idea on that one.
But this is stuff that is important. These are situations where she literally destroyed evidence and admitted to it. She also admitted to destroying more evidence that's in my file, but I don't have any evidence that she said that. I do have evidence that she texted that she did destroy that picture. So...
I've seen that picture. I know which one you're talking about. I seen it, and you know, that when I first got here. Then after that, I didn't see that for a while, so I didn't even know where it went.
Do you remember what it said?
No, I don't. This was many, many months ago. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think it had a lot to do with what happened with you and the thing on Haiti, what we were talking about.
So everybody in the office was aware of it.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's a situation where instead of everybody saying, don't say this and don't say that, my First Amendment right is to speak out. You can go ahead and take the fifth. Anybody can take the fifth.
I'm going to pause it right there. Obviously, we started off the recording showing that he was aware that he was being recorded. Second of all, right there, he verified the existence of the picture and what was on it. It was a picture of me and some stuff about that A&E thing. That's about Natalie Bollinger. It's one of the reasons that I'm targeted. It needs to be taken seriously. I'm going to stop this and I'm going to download it, and then I have to erase it off of my phone so that I have more room to record the end of it. And we'll start the next video with that part right there so that anybody who starts that video is going to see it.